Hello everyone, I hope all of you are safe. Now let us discuss more about the Harrod-Dummer growth model. Discuss the essence of the model. We will begin with initial full employment equilibrium level of income. In this case, aggregate demand is equals to aggregate supply and all the resources in the economy are fully employed. Our second assumption would be the marginal propensity to save is constant. Marginal propensity to save is change in saving with respect to change in income. For example, we receive a bonus of rupees 500 rupees and we plan to save 100 rupees out of it. We spend balance 400 rupees. Now marginal propensity to save in this case would be change in saving, that would be 100 upon change in income, that is 500. So it comes to 0.2. Now to maintain this full employment equilibrium level of income, the volume of spending generated by investment should be equal to increased output resulting from the investment. Now, assuming MPS as constant, when capital accumulation increases, it will lead to increase in national income. For this, you will have to go back to the earlier video. Savings will increase, which will lead to larger increase in investment. Therefore, for maintenance of full employment equilibrium level of income, there must be an ever increasing amount of net investment. For this, continuous growth in real income is required to support the full capacity use of ever increasing capital stock. Therefore, capital accumulation and growth in income must go side by side. Now we have seen that capital accumulation must go hand in hand with growth of income. As capital increases, it leads to increase in productivity. And if this is not accompanied by increase in income, then the new capital may remain unutilized or the new capital may replace the old capital and deprive the latter of its labor or markets. The new capital may be substituted for labor or other factors. Thus, increase in capital unaccompanied by increase in income would result to unemployment of capital or labor. Excessive capital accumulation would lead to overproduction and it will consequently lead to fall in production, leading to depression. Now let us discuss the assumptions of the model. Firstly, a full employment equilibrium level of income already exists in the economy. This we have seen earlier. Secondly, there is no governmental interference in the functioning of the economy. It is a closed economy model, that is, there are no exogenous factors that influence the growth variables. The government restrictions on trade and other complications which are related to international trade are hence ruled out. There are no lags in adjustments of economic variables. Variables like savings, investment, income, expenditure, they all adjust themselves in the same time period. For example, any change in saving brings about a corresponding change in investment in the same period. Then we have average propensity to save is equals to marginal propensity to save. Now we have already discussed marginal propensity to save. Average propensity to save is the ratio between total savings and total income. And marginal propensity to save is change in savings upon change in income. That implies savings upon income should be equal to change in savings upon change in income. Therefore, absolute change in saving is equal to relative change in savings. Next, the law of constant returns holds. That is, when inputs or variables are increased in certain proportion, the output also increases in the same proportion. The propensity to save is constant. This we have discussed earlier. The capital output ratio is assumed to be constant. Capital output ratio is the amount of capital needed to produce 1 unit of output. This also we've discussed in the earlier video. Depreciation is not included in income, investment or savings variable. Therefore, we have assumed that they are defined in the net sense. Lastly, savings and investments are equal in ex ante and ex post sense. Ex ante means based on forecasts and ex post means based on actual results. Therefore, accounting and functional equality of savings and investments hold. I hope all these assumptions were clear. The rest of the model we'll discuss in another video. Thank you.